Welcome to Up at 11 with Kina. This week we have a very special guest, Mr. Marcus Gentry. I just want to read a little bit of his bio for you guys so that you can become familiar with him. Definitely will also make sure you get the information to find his website so that you can reach out to him to come to your organization to be a guest speaker to help you in whatever it is that you need help with. Marcus Gentry is the founder of the Respect Academy, which is a web-based service organization that uses the Socratic method of teaching, coaching, and creative empowerment strategies for the application of universal principles. Mr. Gentry is known for his use of Socratic reasoning as a tool to help lead his audiences to a conscious awakening for action. I love that. A conscious, he speaks my language. A conscious awakening for action. For over 30 years, Marcus Gentry has been speaking to groups, large and small, at home and abroad, helping individuals and organizations to discover the hidden anchors that keeps them from reaching their peak potential and to create new habits for overcoming life's obstacles.
Yes.
So, bravo.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Would you like to share anything else with our listeners? Maybe your contact information, email, web address for booking?
Sure, I can share that now. The phone number would be 800-796-1990, 1-800-796-1990. My email address is respect@marcusgentry.com.
Perfect.
And my website is marcusgentry.com.
marcusgentry.com. I tell you what, I'll share this right quickly. I just learned. I'm a forever student, so I love learning new things. So I just really came into the awareness of the power of the letter M and the energy behind the letter M, you know, and what that represents. And it came through happenstance, through speaking with a friend.
Wow.
As I was developing a logo for a clothing line.
Wow.
The logo for the clothing line is 3 M's, MMM. My oldest son's name is Michael McGowan.
Okay.
So just writing his initials in 2018, I was writing his initials on my calendar, MMM, capital letters, and I underlined it. And I thought, wow, that looks like a crown, you know?
Wow.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
And actually, my first guest that I interviewed for the podcast, that was how he started his journey of awakening. He was raised preacher's kid, raised in a Christian background. And back in the day when the hip hop, the music was conscious, and
right.
Back in the day, KRS-One and all those guys, there were T-shirts and apparel back then, and there was a T-shirt that said Malcolm, Marcus, Martin, and me.
Ah, okay.
So that caught his attention, and he was like, wow, all of our great leaders, most of our great leaders, even the Messiah starts with an M.
That's good. I hadn't thought about those M's like that. I like that, though.
Oh my God. And
it'll make me dig into it a little bit.
Absolutely. It's just been blowing. And ever since then, like, unfortunately we just lost Kobe Bryant and all those great people in the accident. He had the Mamba mentality.
Yes.
Then you come along and it's like these M's are just
it's coming at you. Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready.
All right.
So yes, sir. Yeah. I just wanted to share that. So
I like that.
An honor to be connected. So tell me, how did all this start? What prompted you to? Who is Marcus Gentry?
Well, who is Marcus Gentry? Well, I am a public speaker. I am a performer. I am a father. I'm a son, a grandfather. I'm a warrior. I'm a student of life. Creative empowerment specialist, transition strategist. So there's a lot of titles that that can be associated with me, but I try to be a student of life and then follow the principle of the more I know, the more I owe. So as I learn, I pass it on to others. And I think that probably in a nutshell is who I am.
Awesome. The more I know, the more I owe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm so blessed already. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Explain to me and our
Yes.
audience,
Sure.
what does the Socratic reasoning, what does that mean?
Socratic reasoning is, in its essence, it's very strategic questions that are asked to expose the details of complex matters or situations. They're strategically posed, not for the purpose of stumping someone, but to help them look inside themselves to find the very answer. It feels different. Um, you telling somebody an answer as opposed to posing a question and allowing them to do some self-reflection to find the answer. And I think the core of it is actually rooted in something that's installed in all of us, and that's a curiosity from
Mm,
children to ask why. So
mm,
we were born with that. It's natural to ask why. We were just conditioned to stop questioning certain things at a certain point. So the Socratic reasoning, and what I do with that in my own way, I've added into that what I call going to the fifth level of inquiry. So when it comes to talking about certain things, with people, I like to go to the fifth level because it's more common now for people, as they say, to go wide as opposed to deep. And I like going deep into matters, and that's who I am. That's not just what I do, but that's who I am, to kind of get the essence of things. But in order for that to really work,
mm,
you have to believe that someone outside of you knows more than you do. So you can't use Socratic reason if you got all the answers or believe that you have all the answers. So it's posing questions again for the purpose of gaining extreme clarity for the person asking, but also for the person with the information. And there's multiple examples throughout history, historically, biblically,
yeah.
scientifically, that process has been used to uncover some interesting things, just asking strategic questions.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, next question, and after this question, we'll take a break
Okay.
and we'll come back. But tell me why you are so passionate about empowering others.
That is a good question. I believe that my passion for that comes because I know what it feels like to not be empowered. I know what it feels like to be enslaved to the opinions
Mm,
and ideas of other people and not be empowered. And I feel and all that happens when you're enslaved like that, when you're not empowered to even act in your own best interests.
mhm,
I know what that personally feels like, and the freedom that comes once you become empowered, not over people, but just over yourself, so that you
mm,
have a grasp on who you are and where you're going. And I have a connection and empathy with other humans. It's not my quote that says, I am involved in mankind, as Martin Luther King has said something to that effect. No man is an island. Each man is a piece of a continent, part of the main. And that's the way I feel. I feel partly connected to other people. So when I see someone taken advantage of, whether that's personally or professionally, um, and I believe that the root of it may be that they're not empowered to act in their own best interest, then I'm driven to help them to um, at least develop the tools to help them become stronger so that they can act in their own favor to make things happen the way they need to happen for them if they're interested. So yeah,
perfect.
I'm driven for this. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, guys, you have his contact information, his website, marcusgentry.com. Check him out. I know that his services, that his gifts, and what he has to offer to society will be a blessing to you as you're listening, as it's being a blessing to me. So definitely reach out to him and book him to come out to speak to your youth, to come out to speak to your groups, and so that he can express his passion on empowering you and fulfill his destiny. We all are teachers and students, and we're all
Yes.
here for each other. We just have to reach out, and connect. And we've
Yeah.
been conditioned so to separate ourselves
Haven't we though?
and to not be together. We need to come back together, as humanity, but more specifically, for me personally, I know firsthand from experience, and I'm sure you can speak to that as well,
Yeah.
Marcus, about the healing that's needed in the Black community.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
So yes, absolutely. There's so much healing to be done, and I'm happy to have Marcus here with us to share some of his methods, some of um, his key principles, core principles that he's incorporated into his programs to help those who welcome him. So we're going to take a quick break, and
All
after this
right.
break, we're going to catch up more with Marcus right here on Up at 11 with Keena.
Excellent.
We are back here at Up at 11 with Keena with Mr. Marcus Gentry, founder of the Respect Academy, sharing some really great information with myself and you guys. And Marcus, anything you want to speak on and share before we go to the next question?
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to thank you, and I apologize for not saying that in the very, very beginning. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to have this time and share some conversation with you and your audience. And I'm absolutely going to share this with my audience. I always appreciate that. So I've watched some of the other things that you've done on social media, and I like the spirit that you operate from and the direction that you're going. So I'm very glad to connect with you. I haven't met you directly, but I've seen you indirectly through
Yes.
social media. So man, just thank you for letting me share this time. And I'm glad our schedules lined up, right? So we
Yes.
could do this. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I
It's
appreciate
my
you.
pleasure.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for you as well with your scheduling, and you're in high demand, and hopefully you being on this show is going to expose you to another audience, another sector of people who you could potentially impact and empower. So I'm really,
That
really
would be
excited about
exciting.
it. Yes. So tell us, Marcus, of all of your gifts and talents, because I'm sure you hear this voice, right? I know you hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
This amazing voice. Marcus sings. I'm sure he writes. I'm not sure. I'm still learning about some of his gifts and talents, but I just wanted to give you opportunity to share of your many gifts and talents, and of all of those, which brings you the most joy?
What brings me the most joy? Just in trying to do my best to answer that question. I get the greatest joy when I'm able to help other people um, to find peace, to find some measure of healing, to manage through a difficult situation. Um, that that brings me joy to know that I've done something. Um, I didn't know about my gifts until later in life. I wasn't taught that I have gifts and things of that sort. And many of the things that I do, I thought everybody does them, and it was nothing special. And I wasn't told there was anything unique or special about me until much, much later in life. And so now I take everything that I'm able to do with my voice to use my music and my messages to help empower people to be the best. So that's exciting for me. To learn that I don't just have to do music, or I don't just have to do messages, that I can marry both of them and use my God-given voice and ability and creativity to create experiences to help people, whether that's with my music or with my messages.
Perfect. Great. We look forward to. Hopefully, we can share one of Marcus's songs here during the show. If not this show, maybe another show. I hope to have him back again with us
I would love
to
that.
continue to have this discussion, because as we spoke a little bit on before the break, specifically for people of color, not just here in America, all over the globe. You know, we have a presence. We're original people,
Mhm.
and we are facing some trying times. I mean, just as we have for hundreds of years, and us becoming more aware of who we are, of our power,
Mhm.
being empowered, being liberated, learning how to go within and find that peace and be grounded in order to be better equipped to face some of the things that we face. You
Mhm.
know, that's the heart of this show.
Yes.
Up at 11 with Kina, my goal is to share with you my experiences that may be of an encouragement to you, and more importantly, have guests on the show who have the same intention, who have the same motive, is empowering people and helping us to get up, to wake up, and
Yeah.
stay up.
And that's the truth.
We need that.
Don't we though? Yes.
So,
Yes.
so speaking of that, Marcus, what do
Yes.
you think is the missing key to unify people of color? And how do we break free from our mental chains?
Um, there is there is a book that I read some time ago. It was recommended to me, and I think at least part of the content of that book answers that question. The name of the book is called "The Answer to How Is Yes," and in the book is the author's name is Peter Brock, and he says that we often ask how to do things way too early. He says we need to first see whether we can say yes to some essential questions. So he named a few of them, and then I added a couple to that. So let me try to answer it this way. One of the first things that he says that I agree with, we have there has to be a desire, a passion among us that want to come together. So many people are not, if everyone who talked about unifying together were actually passionate about it, then
Mm-hmm.
we probably would be unified. But there are a lot of people who say one thing
Mm-hmm.
and do something else. There's work involved with that. So I say the first thing is then we say, yeah, I really want to be passionate. I have a passion for
Mm-hmm.
unifying and connecting because there's some people who don't want to connect with other people that look like them for a variety of reasons. And that's a show by itself, right?
Yes.
Right. So the second area that he says you have to be willing to say yes to is that there's a purpose, there's a reason why you think it's important that we be unified. So if you don't have if we don't have solid reasons why it's important that I unite with you or other people who resemble me, then I won't put forth the effort. I won't have a passion because the bottom line is I won't have a reason why I should do this, especially if I believe things are working out fine the way it is. So that interferes with that. The one of the third things is that we have to be willing to make a plan to be able to do that. So just hoping that we start unifying together is not going to happen. So we have to be willing to make a strategic plan that looks very specific and say we're going to do something soon. Soon is not a time,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we have to be as specific about that if we want to do that. And I'll pause with this because I don't want to make a speech out of it,
No,
but
you're fine.
I will say that it's important that we clarify what unifying looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does it mean? Because again, this has to do with that Socratic reasoning and going deeper into
Mm-hmm.
it because we throw, not you and I, but people throw so many buzzwords around about
Yes.
unifying, connecting without the clarity about what does it really mean to unify? Does it mean we all have to have the same religion, right? Does it mean
Right.
we should all buy from the same places? Does it mean we should all dress in a similar fashion? What does it mean that we should buy from each other? And even on that buying from each other, that's a whole different subject because there's a lot of people who promote we should buy from black businesses, support black businesses, but many black businesses don't understand what that looks like. So you will support them, but they will not in turn look for a way that they can support you right back. They're
Mm-hmm.
not gathering your card. They're not getting your phone number. They're just wanting you to support them. So anyway,
Wow.
you know, this comes into again, we need to have clarity about what unifying looks like.
Yeah.
Some of our families aren't unified, you know, much
Amen.
less going outside of our family into our community and the
Mhm.
broader community. And then there's work connected with that. And so if there's no passion,
Right.
there's no real reason, there's no plan, you're not clear about the place of success, nothing will really change in terms of unifying.
That is so true. So powerful. The desire and the passion
Mm,
to put in the work, the reason and the purpose behind it,
yes,
making a clear plan,
yes,
and having clarity on what unifying looks like. And you said something so key. Do we have to believe the same thing? Do we have to shop at the same stores? What is that? Wow, that's
yes,
good stuff. That's good stuff because difference, having a difference in beliefs, that really has caused a lot of separation,
hasn't it though? Hasn't it though?
and that's a big one.
Huge, huge.
That's a big
Yeah,
one.
yes.
Whoa,
Amen to that.
that may take a whole nother show.
That is a
Maybe
show.
maybe we can follow up and have you back again, and we can talk about that.
Sure, we can.
Yes, absolutely. So we've talking about religion briefly. We're talking about finding peace and knowing who you are and being empowered.
Sure.
Those key terms, of course, makes me think about the Bible. That's one of the things that I love to dive into with my guests here on Up at 11 with Keena is the Bible and religion.
Mhm.
And it's a very touchy subject, and most people don't like to go there. They want to stay away from it. But I think because of how divisive it has been,
Mhm.
um, we need to start looking at it. So my next question for you is how important is the Bible? And I mean, we can go into so many different avenues of that, like, the interpretation of it, how important is it? Some people, like for me, when I had my awakening back in 2009 and I started looking beyond and started coming into the awareness of some things and some mistruths
Mhm.
that I had believed. I wanted to do away with it. I was like, I'm done. I don't, I didn't want to study it anymore. I was, I went through those phases.
Sure. Sure.
So now I'm bringing it back, and I've because of how I know or learned to interpret it, I'm finding it a love or an appreciation for it again. Um, how important? What are your thoughts on that?
And is the question, how important is the
Is the
Bible?
Bible? Yes.
I think that depends on how important is it to do what. Is as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different directions you can go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I think there is some value in it. I
Yeah.
think there is some principles that can have cross applications.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, so it has some value. It's similar to you, possibly. I, at one point, believed that there was no truth outside of Genesis to Revelation. Um, um, I learned otherwise later. Um, and again, once you've been awakened, as they say, once your mind has been expanded,
Yeah.
truly, you can't go back to the way of thinking that you were before. So it has
Mm-hmm.
some value. Um, I think it has to be put in perspective,
Yeah.
and I think that's where things are lost sometimes, or
Mm-hmm.
misconstrued sometimes. But I think when it's put in perspective, I think it can bring some value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And my next question, I think we've kind of already been speaking on that, and
Hmm.
how has man's religion done more harm than good?
Well, first of all, when we say man's religion, I believe it's just that. And when you're dealing with man who
Mhm.
creates something,
Yeah.
they create things oftentimes from their own perspective or their own assessment of things, there has absolutely been some harm done. There has absolutely been some good done. I think the answer of that question depends on where we focus. And because it's not very hard to focus on the good. You talk to certain people, and they will talk about the good and the great of religion, and they swear by it, and the music that goes with it, and all the things that go with it. And there are some benefits to that, and there are people who will swear by the fact that had they not come in contact with particular religions, their life would have fallen apart and things would have not gone well. But there's another side of that same coin that is just as real, whose people's lives have been turned into turmoil because they didn't just have religion, the religion had them. Not to mention the multiple killings that have been done in the name of man's religion, the separation from families and people in the name of religion, that has been interpreted by someone else, who claims to have divine understanding, but it can't be defined how they actually have that so-called divine inspiration. And so, yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. So I can speak extensively about the harm that it has done and it continues to do. But I would be foolish to ignore the fact that there has been some benefits.
Absolutely.
How we focus on that will determine how our conversation goes, whether it's done more harm than good.
So true. So true. Me personally, I can say I'm grateful, for my journey. Christianity, Jesus was the way that I came. But at this point in my life, I don't judge or condemn people who come a different way. There are many paths to the truth, and I'm just grateful to have come to a higher level of understanding. And I think the biggest threat to people really awakening is the loss of control. Because once you step into a new level of awareness and a higher consciousness, you're more secure in who you are. You trust your own inner knowing. You trust you can go to God yourself. And I think that's some of the fears of some of the people in control. Of course, they don't want to lose their influence on you, because at the end of the day, we're all consumers, right? And they want us to remain as consumers.
And in fact, just to your same point, one of the first things that has to happen in order for religion to be able to take over individuals, they have to convince you that they know and have a better relationship with God than you do. And only through them can you be successful or saved or survive or whatever it is, go to heaven, live on earth, whatever the reward is. And it's always reward or punishment.
Yes.
Very rarely is it anything about love of a creator, but it's about, if you don't do this, this is going to happen to you. Or if you do this, you can get this reward or punishment. And so to get people on their side, they have to convince them, you can't think for yourself. You cannot do this on your own. You need me. Yeah. And then again, it goes back to what I was talking about in terms of Socratic reasoning and the curiosity that we had as a child. Once you continue to ask questions, and as Bishop Carlton Pearson said, ask the questions, get the answer, and then question the answers. Yes. When you become free enough to be able to do that, you come to an awakening that's beyond words, independent of someone else having to explain everything to you. But many people are afraid of that kind of independence and will not have the attitude that you talk about of being non-judgmental.
Yes.
Yeah.
So true. So powerful. Such a power. I love Bishop Carlton Pearson. Love him. I hope to be able to hear him speak. I check him out on Facebook often, his live broadcast. Phenomenal.
I I had the pleasure of interviewing him on one of my programs
Wow.
before, and I've sat with him in his home before and listened to him, and he has great insight. There are some friends that I had at the time who stopped talking to me because I talked with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they felt he was so controversial. I should have no connection with anything like that. And
Oh,
besides to hear his journey and all that, yes, he definitely has some great insights. As a matter of fact, when I met him personally, I met him and Michael Beckwith at the same time,
whoa.
and both that was a very powerful meeting of a couple of great men, and I continue to admire both of them and respect them both.
Wow, I look forward to hearing more about that. That is awesome. I love both of those brothers and follow them in their ministries, their teaching. So wow, that's it's an honor, even more of an honor to be connected. Um, yeah, that's great. Well, we're gonna take another quick break, and we're gonna get into the next segment. And I look forward to coming back with Marcus Gentry of the
Excellent.
Respect Academy right after this break.
Excellent.
Welcome back to Up at 11 with Kina. We're here with Mr. Marcus Gentry, the founder of the Respect Academy. We shared his contact information a little earlier in the show. It will also be down in the comment section below so that you can go ahead and go to the website and reach out to him to be blessed and edified by his gifts. So we've got a few more questions here from Mr. Gentry. Speaking about the Bible, speaking about religion, if you had to take just one scripture from the Bible to carry you through the rest of your life, which scripture would it be and why?
Um, I'm not able to tell you exactly where,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a time and place for everything under the sun, and that is the one thing I think I would carry with me. There's a time and place. I think there's a time and place for an awakening. There's a time for being asleep. There's a time to confront, and there's a time to compliment. There's a time to speak up, and there's a time to be quiet. And I think the wisdom that comes with maturity helps us determine when there is a good time and a good place for things. I work with a variety of audiences,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things I work with young adults groups I work with between 18 and 25 is talking to them about a time and place, because until you find the balance, when you finally get to freedom of voice, sometimes you just come all out with it whenever, however,
Yeah.
because it's new. Right.
That was
It's new.
me. Yeah.
But it's new, and it happens with all of us, and then we find balance, and then you
Mm.
come to learn there's a time for
Yeah.
certain things, and there's a place. It's not about being afraid, it's about timing, and so I think that would be the one that would carry me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell us what drives you, what keeps you going, keeps you motivated.
I think curiosity. I have a good friend. Uh, his name is He was my first best friend from a child.
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence Boone, we called him Shuby, and he said that it's never too late. He gave me an example. It's never too late to improve yourself, and because his birthday is like 7 days before mine, and we talk often about having the curiosity of a child. Um, when you're really that young child and you're asking questions, what is this, and how do you make that happen, and where did that come from? And then you get to a point where those responsible for raising you start saying things like, stop asking so many questions, just do what I say.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us continue to operate with that level of restraint
Yeah.
and just going along with what somebody else says, because we're afraid of challenging authority or questioning authority, because some folks in so-called authority feel that any question is a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
which speaks to their insecurity.
Yeah.
And so what drives me is the curiosity of things, analytical consideration of things, and I get bored easily. So seeing something the same way, like I do theatrical productions, and Some of the ones that I do, they are already complete, but because I'm a storyteller, there's always more pieces to the story that keeps it exciting for me. And I think if I told the story the exact same way every time, it would become boring. So
Mhm.
it's never boring because I'm always finding some new creative way to present, to share, to learn
Yeah.
something. So my own boredom and curiosity and the knowledge that it's never too late to improve myself, to get a little better, to try to correct something that I may have done wrong, or try to do a little bit better. Even with my performances and
Mhm.
my presentations, I like to think of my best one as being my next one.
All right.
So that's the way I go forward with it. Yes, that
I
drives me.
love it. I love it. So many golden nuggets here with Marcus. I know you're enjoying this as much as I am if you're listening. Um, Final question. Well, I know we shared your contact information with everyone. I
Sure,
want to maybe change up the question a little bit because
sure.
they have your contact information below. We're going to make sure they get that. Are there any upcoming events or speaking engagements that you have, or something that you're going to be releasing on your website? I know that you reach a lot of people, just as all of us do, through the web, through the internet. Is there anything upcoming that we need to be looking out for from you?
Well, I'm not sure when we'll actually get to air this, but I have a theatrical piece that I've done for a number of years. I was actually referencing that when I was talking about telling the story. It's called "I Have a Dream: A King's Journey,"
Mhm.
and I have been able to do that multiple times in a variety of places around the nation and abroad. And I have a couple of events that's coming up at DuSable Museum here in Chicago.
Mhm.
I have one where I'm going to be doing that with Southwestern um, College in
Okay.
Belleville. I think it's called Belleville, near St. Louis.
Mhm.
I'll be doing that there this weekend. That's coming up, and again, this may air after that's happened. But I do that. It's not something that is only effective or good during the so-called Black History Month.
Right.
It's just a story that's relevant all the time. It's not a children's story; it's an
Mhm.
adult story. And I'm always see. I have something on my site called MG exclusives
Mhm.
that I'm going to be putting in. It may be starting what I had was a mastermind readers group. I'm hoping to have some interviews again where or I may initiate the mindful moments content. So I will, that's some of the stuff that's out there already where I was doing these video pieces of that. And I'm always traveling or willing and open to travel, helping people with resiliency, relationship, and managing transition. Um, so that's kind of what I have going. I work um, with the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Defense, so I do a lot of work
Wow.
with military service members and their families, helping them from every phase of deployment, from
Mhm.
pre-deployment to 30 days and beyond, post-deployment. So I travel pretty extensively with that, but that's usually a private audience for security purposes, and the way things are in this country now,
Okay.
we aren't able to disclose where those locations are. But
Mhm.
some of the content that we talk about and that I talk about is available in other classes and places that I present.
Okay. Perfect. Go to Marcus's website, marcusgentry.com. Find him on YouTube. I personally went to YouTube to check out some of his music. Great voice, great mind.
And some music things are coming as well. I just did a remake of Everything Must Change, and there's some exciting things that I'm creating in the music arena now as
Wow.
well. That's yeah, because I like to do special music performances, not just to come and sing, but do special,
Mhm.
exclusive kind of musical experiences. And I've got something that's very exciting. I do a tribute to the baritones already
Okay.
that I've performed that many times in a variety of places. So that's going to be coming up soon, as well as this new musical show.
Fantastic. I'll definitely be sharing the links to
Thank you.
these upcoming releases on the show, on my website, as well as social media. So I will keep you guys in the loop. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you so much. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure.
The pleasure has been mine. It's been an honor spending this time together, and I look forward to us doing something again soon.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Please join me next week and tell a friend. Affirm with me today. I am worthy. I am an amazing expression of the Creator. I am healthy, whole, and productive. I am loved, supported, and protected. Stay up. Peace.